Morning, everybody. Mike with Tough Fight back here for episode 9. Pick a trade or a profession. So, as we talked in episode 2, which was what do you want from your life, we talked about building a path to get to where you want to go in this life. Part of that path is going to be picking a trade or a profession. We got to figure out what is the vehicle that we're going to drive to get us to where we want to go. So many people go to college and go from job to job to job for decades and never really figure out what they want to do. We're not here to figure out what's going to make you happy. We're not here to figure out what job you're going to be doing on the day you retire. We're here to figure out how we're going to get you to the next step. That's the most important thing. But we got to find something that you can do. We got to find something that you're willing to do. And we have got to find something that will net you the income that you need to get to the next step. So in this podcast, we're going to show you how to pick a trade or a profession. We're going to explain to you why it's so important, and we are going to kind of guide you through that process. So now we have to figure out, what can you do? What do you kind of want to do? Or better yet, what can you do that can net you a result to get to where you want to go? So I use the McDonald's analogy a lot. I don't know that I would call that a trade, but there's a pathway to success in the fast food industry. Absolutely. Is it yachts and Ferraris? No, but you can live a decent life working in the fast food industry if you work your way up. But let's talk about the trades. The trades would be considered blue collar work. You've got welding, you've got landscaping, roofing, construction, HVAC. You've got all these different things that people do, right? Sewer cleaning, city worker, those types of jobs. Now, depending on where you want to go, that's going to dictate what you get into. So if you sit down and figure out that you want a 3,000 square foot house on a half-acre lot, and that's going to cost you $700,000. Well, you need to take into consideration that your mortgage needs to be 25 to 30% of your income. So I don't know what the payment on that house would be, but my guess would be somewhere in the $3,500 a month range. So you need to make $10,000 a month just to qualify to get that loan. So we want to kind of think of it from that standpoint. I mean, just kind of brush on it at least. And most trades aren't going to pay you that. So that means you need to make $120,000 a year to be able to buy that house. Well, I wouldn't dismiss what trade you're in, but I would simply have the mentality that, this job that you get is not going to get you where you want to go right off the bat. And that's okay. Our goal is to work our way up. So if you then look at a profession, let's say you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, or maybe some type of management role. There's 2 ways you can get there. You can go to school and get a degree in whatever field you want to go into. And I'm here to tell you, most people I've met do not work in the industry that they got a degree in, which I guess is irrelevant. But the other way you can do it is if you start out at one of these companies, you can work your way up. There are some things that you need a degree for. If you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a lawyer, you need a degree. You're not going to get that job without one. So when you think something sounds interesting, you got to check and see, what is it going to take to do that job, to get that job, and to get that income that you desperately want. Well, most people, I don't think of that. I think most people get a job that they think they can deal with. Like, for example, at our landscape company, we have a lot of people that just need a job. They're just looking for a paycheck. And we get it. Like, we understand. But what most people don't realize is they don't realize that they're actually cut out to work outside, and that's just what they're good at doing. But yet they can never seem to make, I shouldn't say never, but a lot of guys can't seem to make ends meet on a landscaping salary. And I mean, I can relate to that. I can understand that. I mean, I once was the worker bee as well, but I was always relatively smart with my money. And so I wasn't broke all the time when I made lower dollar amounts. In fact, I've struggled more with money as the owner of the business than I did as an employee, because I would take my salary, I'd write it down on paper, and then these were my bills, and then this is what I had left. With owning the business, the money's always flowing and circulating, so there's a lot of ups and downs, highs and lows. It gets pretty tough. But the point we're trying to make here is this: the point is that you want to have as much of a sure thing as you can. So whatever you decide to dive into, blue collar work or some type of admin job or whatever it may be, find out, can you do it? Do you at least sort of want to do it? And is it a vehicle that will propel you to the next level? So let's just say you get into the trade industry and you decide, no, I really want to go to school and I want to be a doctor. Well, if you're in the trades, that's fine, but will your job allow you to go to school at night or part-time or however you need to do it so that you can go be that doctor? I would imagine getting a degree in anything, just about anything, while working a full-time job is probably pretty tough. So I'll tell you about a guy I know. It's actually a family member. He joined the Navy, and he was in the Navy for like 8 years. And him and his wife lived out on the East Coast. They had 3 kids. They ended up moving back here, which is where they actually had their 3rd kid. But he got a job. Oh man, I want to say he was working for a retail firm, a retail company doing management. And I think he was the assistant manager, if I'm not mistaken. And then his wife did some random jobs. I think she helped out with a CPA and did some other things. And both of them went to school pretty much full time, if I remember right. They both worked full-time jobs and they were raising 3 kids. So I look at that and I think to myself, man, I mean, they worked so hard and I admire them. I deeply respect them for what they did. And even though neither one of them worked glam jobs at first, I mean, they probably spent a good 10 years working their butts off to get to where they are today. So this family member of mine, he went to school for electrical engineering while working as a manager at a retail company, basically. She was going to school for accounting to be a CPA. And I honestly cannot remember what her jobs were in between, but I think they were more like receptionist type stuff, assistant type jobs, things like that. So neither one of them was, raking in the dough, right? They were both struggling immensely with where to bring the kids and things like that. Now I'll tell you this: they had family support. That's important. If you don't have family support, it's going to be twice as hard for you, if not more. So, and the family didn't do everything for them, but they were there to help, in certain situations. So at one point, this family member of mine decided to join the Air Force Reserves, I believe. And he worked on planes and did all these things and still working full time, going to school, all those good things. And he still managed to have like a good family life and all that stuff. And I don't know. That takes a lot of effort and dedication that most people don't have. But the point is this: the point is he graduated from school. He got his degree. She did the same thing. They both ended up getting very good jobs. They just one day decided to up and move back to the East Coast. They're doing really well. They live in a beautiful home and they got beautiful children and they got, seemingly a great life. They're always, pretty content and grateful and happy and stuff like that. They get to see things and, they live a fairly modest life, the life that I think most people would probably consider the American dream. But they really worked hard to get to where they're at. And I think a lot of people would look at these two and say, oh man, I wish I had that. It must be nice. But a lot of people don't see what they suffered to go through and get those things, right? Like, I mean, they didn't start off where they're at. They had to start somewhere. So they both came from, fairly humble beginnings, I would say. Neither one of them were rich or well-off families. So, so that's just, I just kind of wanted to like give you guys that story because I think it says a lot about what it really takes to get to where you want to go. What we don't want to do is we don't want to be impatient. We don't want to sit there and say, well, if I can't have this now, it's not worth it, because it is worth it. If you look at this family member of mine, they spent 10 years of their lives investing into their future. And now, I mean, their house is they're probably at least 10 years into their mortgage, and they're both 45. So by the time they're 60 or 65, their house will be paid off. If it's not already, it wouldn't shock me. I don't know their finances, but I know they both do very well, and they're both very responsible with their money. So I just think that the best thing that we can do is choose something. Just pick something. Let's just say you go into the landscape industry and you start out at $21 an hour, $20 an hour, whatever, 19, whatever it is, right? Some low number. If you show your hard work and your dedication, you will move up. You will absolutely move up. And even if you don't become the crew leader or the manager, you will move up in pay at the bare minimum. But if you keep showing your dedication, the way to make it in the trades is to be a part of the team. Be a part of the team so that you can move up. When that manager quits, you can take his job, but you've got to learn your job first. You have to learn all the ins and outs of what you do. So in the blue collar industry, you can make a great living for yourself, but you have to remember something. When you're in the field doing field work, that's the school. You are in the school. You're learning in the dirt or in whatever it is that you're doing. The true value comes in when you start to get into leadership positions. So crew leaders are kind of like a low tier management, we'll call it, right? They're not really management, but they have a responsibility, right? They've got a job to do, and they have to wrangle people in. They have to herd cats, as we like to say. But once they pass that point, like maybe they get into a field supervisor job. I mean, it pays well. You're not buying that 3,000 square foot house more than likely, but you can start to advance yourself. When you get into like an operations manager position, that's where it really changes. When you get into positions like that, generally speaking, and I mean generally that's where you start to make the money where you can buy something. It may not be the 3,000 square foot house on a half acre lot, but maybe it's a 1,500 square foot tri-level on a quarter acre lot with a 2-car garage. I mean, could we settle for that, at least temporarily? But even if that's as far as you ever get, that's farther than a lot of people get. So we just want to make sure that we're realistic about our expectations. Do the math of the job that you're looking for. Do the math of the profession you're looking for. Don't just look at how much can I make in 5 years or in 10 years, but also look at what is it going to cost me to gain that knowledge. That's important. That's important because I like to tell guys that come to work for us that love landscaping but don't think they can make a living out of it, and they want to go to school. I like to tell them they're in school. Your school is right here in the dirt. This is all you need. You spend 5-10 years in this industry and you can absolutely make good money doing it. But just remember, guys, that when you're out there looking for the next thing, when you're out there looking for the next job, if you keep bouncing from job to job, just because for another 25 cents an hour, another $1 per hour, just remember something. You could have stayed where you're at, and you probably could have made a lot more than that dollar. If you stay somewhere and you're there for 2 years and you get nowhere and you've done everything right, make friends with the people in charge. Make friends with these people and say, hey man, how do I get to this next level? Like, I feel like I'm stuck here. Like, I want to go up, right? And there may not be room for you. There may not. So when you go to work for these companies, if it's a small company and they really truly don't have the room for you to move up, ask them, is there something I can do in this company to help us get to the next level to where we can have that position for me? It's not unrealistic to ask somebody that question. And if you're in a company that seems big enough to support that, say, how do I get this next job? How do I move up to the next position? So anyways, I just want to basically reiterate to you guys that we gotta choose something, and let's just stick with it. I think for maybe your early 20s, yeah, if you want to bounce around from 5 different trades to feel them all out, fine, whatever. But if you turn 30 and you can't keep a job for more than a year, or I would say even 3 years, I'd say there's something very wrong. And I'd probably even say that about the average 25-year-old that didn't go to school. Like, pick something and stick in it. If you enjoy the work but it doesn't pay enough, you can get to the point 90% of the time where you are making enough. And the best thing you can do also is just control your spending. Control your spending, because if you're not making the money that you need to make, then don't spend the money you don't have. You know what they say? A rich man has no bills. And remember this, guys, life is tough. Fight back.